Hello and welcome to Question Quick Clips. My name is Dr. Lina Majdalany, and today I'm going to be going over a question in Content Area B of the TCO. The purpose of these quick clips is to give you some tools for tackling and breaking down questions, as well as helping you analyze your errors. Today, we are tackling a multiple choice question that lands in TCO Area B.9, which is identify and distinguish among simple schedules of reinforcement. So let's get started. So here's the question. Again, my style is to leave those answer choices out. And for this one, you might not ever actually put them back in, but we will. But you might not have to because we don't need to see the answer choices in order to come up with this answer. It's going to be pretty straightforward. One helpful strategy I also recommend is to read the lead-in first. The lead-in is the final sentence that contains the actual question. Doing this, especially with paragraph-style questions, helps focus your attention on what the question is really asking you to identify. The rest of the paragraph kind of provides supporting details, but knowing the specific focus ahead of time allows you to read with purpose and identify or filter the most relevant information. The lead-in is simply, which simple schedule of reinforcement is Alice using? My brain tells me immediately there are 4 simple schedules. Hopefully you can spit them out now. Go ahead, try, get a paper, get a pen, write them down. Let me give you a few seconds. Few seconds is probably good because you could abbreviate each of them with 2 letters each. So jot them down. Now that you've jotted them down, you might have an idea of what the answer might be because you've written out those 4 simple schedules, hopefully. Before reading the entire question, let me give you a quick overview. So here are some important terms we need to cover. I'm not at the simple schedules yet, but important terms that are going to be used in combination to make the 4 simple schedules. So the first word is fixed. Fixed refers to a consistent amount. So a fixed schedule would be a schedule where the criteria remains the same. A variable schedule, or the word variable, I should say, refers to changing around an average. So a variable schedule is a schedule criteria that does just that, changes around an average value. The word ratio equals responses only, right? So the ratio schedules, you're going to deliver the reinforcer after a certain number of responses have occurred. And finally, the word interval, think about time must pass and a response must occur. So an interval schedule, you're going to deliver the reinforcer for the first response after a period of time. And then by combining these criteria and terms in various ways, we end up with those 4 simple schedules. And here they are, the 4 simple schedules. So the fixed ratio, again, this is where you're going to deliver the reinforcer after a set number of responses. So for example, after every 5 toys my son picks up, I deliver a praise statement or say good job or thanks for helping or whatever. Variable ratio, I'm delivering the reinforcer after a varying number of responses. So the ratio, the number of responses changes around an average. So I might, if we go with that same example, deliver praise after he picks up 3 toys or 6 toys or, roughly every 5th toy. Moving into the interval schedules, a fixed interval, I'm going to deliver the reinforcer for the first response after a set period of time. So let's say if I'm writing or editing questions, but I also want to earn a break, I might set a criteria that sounds something like this. I need to, be at my desk for 1 hour. After 1 hour passes, I can take a break after I complete 1 question for example. So 1 hour goes by, I complete one question, I can take a break. And the last one is a variable interval schedule. And I'm going to deliver the reinforcer for the first response, but this time after a varying period of time. So again, if we go with that last example, I set a timer for roughly an hour. So let's say 50 minutes, 45 minutes, and then the next time it's an hour and 10 minutes, right? So the time criteria fluctuates around an average, but the reinforcer is going to be delivered after the first response after that timer goes off. So all the simple schedules require a response. The interval schedule also requires the passage of time. And that's just a quick review on those simple schedules. Sometimes students get the 4 simple schedules mixed up with time-based schedules, especially the interval one. So I want to quickly clarify the difference between the time-based schedules and the simple schedules. So time-based schedules, you may have heard fixed time or variable time. They do not require a response. So in other words, the reinforcer will be delivered after some time passes and the individual does not need to do anything. So the difference is that with the time-based schedules, there's no response requirement, whereas with the interval schedules, there is both a time requirement and a response requirement. And then fixed versus variable, well, we've already covered that. So let's do an example here. If my kids are playing together, and let's say I pop in every 5 minutes to check on them, and I say, after 5 minutes, looks like you're having fun, right? I don't know, something. That's a fixed time because it's every 5 minutes. If I pop in roughly every 3 to 6 minutes, well, that's a variable time, But the point is that there's no response required. They don't have to do anything for me to deliver the reinforcer. It's just time passing. So that was a little tangent or review on simple schedules of reinforcement and time-based schedules. Now, just for fun, we'll take a look at those answer choices. So we've got fixed interval, fixed time, variable interval, and fixed ratio. So we should know what all these words mean together and in isolation. Now let's go back to the question. So we read the lead-in, which simple schedule of reinforcement is Alice using? And then I read the whole thing. So Alice is working on increasing task completion for her client, Bailey. Alice is delivering a token for the first task completed after 3 minutes since the last time a token was delivered. Which simple schedule of reinforcement is Alice using? So I'm noticing that Alice is working on task completion. That's one of the details that might be important. We just reviewed that some schedules require a response and some don't. So by noticing this detail, I have a pretty big clue that there probably is a response requirement. Let's look for more clues. Not only is there a response requirement, but also a time component. How do I know that? Let's read this little highlighted part. So we're delivering a token for the first task completed after 3 minutes. That's a big clue that there is a time component. Since both components are relevant, I'm going to eliminate any schedules that only require one component. Why am I so confident in eliminating these answer choices? Well, we know that time-based schedules have no response requirement, only time. So we'll get rid of fixed time. And we know that ratio schedules are based solely on meeting a response requirement, no time. So we'll go ahead and get rid of fixed ratio. And that's just based on being fluent with the definitions. Okay, so what are we left with here? We've got 2 types of interval schedules. So the only difference is whether it's fixed or variable. Let's take a look at that question again. Taking a look at the whole question again, I'm seeing after 3 minutes. Nothing here is jumping out at me regarding an average amount of time that passes or a varying amount of time. So I'm pretty confident she's giving her a token for task completion after every 3 minutes. Not approximately or roughly 3 minutes, but consistently every 3 minutes. So I'm going to eliminate option C, the variable interval, and I can confidently select answer choice A as the correct answer. So this is an example of a fixed interval schedule. Well, that was fun. Now it's time to analyze your errors. If you struggled with this item, you may be having trouble distinguishing between simple schedules of reinforcements, or maybe mixing up interval schedules and time-based schedules. If either of those are the case, you can review the 6th edition TCO item B.9. A nice way to address this error is to come up with your own examples of each type. And this is a helpful study tool because you have to identify critical features and differences between the schedules and apply definitions correctly, which demonstrates if you truly understand the concept and are not just memorizing. Plus, it's always fun to identify what schedules are controlling your immediate environment. Last but not least, some super helpful resources that we have to help you out in your preparation to master this material. So you can take the supplemental quiz that goes with this question quick clip. You can study to fluency using SAFMed cards that we've created. You can check out our easy sheets, which are cheat sheets essentially. And you can join the Boost Study and Support group on Facebook. You can get all of these resources and links to these resources by clicking on the links in the description box below. Thank you for following along. I hope this walkthrough was helpful. Apply these strategies to sharpen your skills for tackling any multiple choice question. Remember that thoughtful analysis beats guesswork every time. You've got this. Bye for now.